Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel, MD, General Physician. Today we'll be discussing on one of the another interesting topic. In short, very frequently asked in your exam as a short note, and very frequently asked in your oral. That is pancytopenia. And today we'll be first initially having little introduction of what is CBC, little introduction of that, and then we'll be proceeding to pancytopenia. All my video lectures are for educative purpose. They will be helpful to you in your oral exam, theory exam, as well as it will be helpful to you in your everyday practice also. If you like this video, please press button like, subscribe and share with your friends. CBC, or is also called as hemogram, or some also say that FBC, full blood count, or it is also called as the ABC of CBC. And we commonly use the word CBC, complete blood count. We'll be talking under heading introduction, components, what are the different parts of CBC, and then we'll be going to interpretation. But today we'll not be discussing in detail regarding interpretation, but we'll be talking of one of the short note, that is what we called as pancytopenia, very frequently asked as a short note. CBC is one of the most common laboratory investigation asked in everyday practice. Indirectly, we say that peripheral smear examination along with CBC is equivalent to bone marrow biopsy, which is a traumatic procedure, while peripheral smear is absolutely non-traumatic. Good number of times CBC is misinterpreted, but if you interpret properly, you will come to near-most diagnosis and you will be able to pick up good number of conditions. It is also called as mirror for many diseases. So it is peripheral smear in CBC. Good number of time when it is done by automated instruments, auto analyzer, peripheral smear is not done. Ideally, it should be done separately, and it is a non-invasive bone marrow biopsy. We know that the blood is consisting of plasma and form elements we call as a cell, and in that cell we have got a WBC, RBC and platelet, and we investigate regarding these three components. That's why it is called as a complete blood cell count, and we are looking at that particular things. Now if you divide blood into two components, cellular component and plasma component, cellular component is 45%, so indirectly we say the packed cell volume is 45%, of which 98% is RBC, 2% is WBC, and platelet is a very small percentage. And this RBC almost consists of the entire cellular component, so we call that as a packed cell volume. And the top layer we call as a buffy coat, which is consisting only 2%, and that is by WBC and platelets. Now when the peripheral smear is examined, you can see RBC, you can see this different types of WBC, and you should be able to identify that different types of this WBC, and that is what we call as peripheral smear examination. These are all the different types of cells. At present we are not discussing in detail. When we talk about WBC, we'll be talking about that. This is basophil, this is eosinophil, this is neutrophil. Then these are what we call as the agranulocytes, that is monocytes, and lymphocytes. And lymphocytes we have got two. One, we have got T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. and then we have got a small particles which are a part of megakaryocytes. We call that as a platelet. In a complete blood count, we get RBC, WBC, platelet count, plus we calculate from that indices. One of the indices which is calculated is MCH, that is mean corpuscular hemoglobin, where hemoglobin percentage is divided by RBC count. We call MCH. And when hemoglobin is divided by hematocrit, that is called mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. And hematocrit is equal to MCV multiplied by R red blood cell count. So these are the few indices which we can calculate, but in a report it is already mentioned, so we don't have to worry about the calculation. And in peripheral smear, the type of RBC, type of WBC and type of platelets can be identified in peripheral smear. Different types of, I've already uploaded one lecture on peripheral smear. So do go through that. It is very, very useful. So basic screening test that evaluates the cell that circulates in the blood, we call that as a CBC, or it is also called as a full blood count or full blood examination or complete blood panel, or it is also called hemogram. These are all different words which are being utilized. And in that, RBC count, hemoglobin, PET cell volume, MCV, MCH, MCHC, RDW, plus retic count, in WBC total count, differential count, platelet count. BTCT is usually not a part of a CBC, but BTCT should be included, and platelet distribution width. Blood grouping is again not a part of CBC. ESR is a part of CBC, so ESR. These are all the things which are being given in CBC. So you are looking at the different cells, red blood cells which is anucleated, basophil which is having a basic or blue pigmentation, neutrophil is having neutral pigmentation which is consisting of both basic as well as acidic, and neutrophil have a pentalobe nucleus. Eosinophil will have a bilobe nucleus and acidophilic stain granules, while basophil have a trilobe nucleus with basophilic stain granules. Monocyte will have a kidney shaped nucleus, and it is a big size cell, biggest cell. And in lymphocytes, we have got the T lymphocytes and B lymphocyte. Usually we see T lymphocytes very common, and this is a big nucleus, and platelets are micro components of a megakaryocytes. So whenever you ask for a CBC, it will give you hemoglobin, hematocrit, RBC count. In RBC, indices, MCV, MCH, MCHC, and RDW. In platelet count, platelet distribution width, and in WBC, different types of WBC what are being present and their percentage, total count and differential count we call. And peripheral smear is usually done separately, and it should be done separately, and you should be able to identify different types of RBC as well as WBC. Mainly it is very good for RBC, peripheral smear examination. So CBC, one of the indication is to confirm the diagnosis of the disorders what you are suspecting. For monitoring purpose, when you are giving some treatment or you want some drugs which are being given which can have effect on bone marrow, and also while treating a patient for prognostic purpose. And good number of time it is done also for screening purpose. In a pre-operative person also, CBC is very important. So basically the indications of CBC is for screening purpose, diagnostic purpose, monitoring purpose, and monitoring the treatment part of it. So these are the common purpose for which the CBC is being asked for. So for screening, diagnosis, monitoring, and prior to any major surgery, very frequently being asked. And CBC will give you big list of reports. You have to interpret those reports. These are the different results. You will get WBC, RBC, and in RBC hemoglobin, hematocrit, MCV, MCH, MCH, MCHC, RDW, platelet. Then in WBC, neutrophil, lymphocyte, monocyte counts, their absolute counts. Then in peripheral smear, is there any immature granulocytes or immature granulocytes are present or absent, etc. All those components are given. These are all the different laboratory will have a different types of report depending upon what method they are using and which are the instruments they are using. You can see here there is a big list again. What are the reports which are being given? So you will have to go through depending upon the laboratory, different parameters will be given in a CBC. You can see here, these are the reports which are commonly being given. These are WBC reports, these are RBC, and these are for platelets. Here, these are the standard way of giving the reports. So depending upon what instrument you are using and what way they are being given. Now this WBC, RBC and platelet can change depending on the activity, diet, stress, geography, certain medications, during what time of the day the blood is collected, etc. can have effect on those different counts. You should be aware of those particular things. Now I am going through one short note. This was a little introductory part. I am going through one short note, what we call as a pancytopenia. Good number of time you will see in your CBC report. Pancytopenia means pan means all, cyto means cell, penia means decrease in the cell count. So decrease in the RBC count, decrease in the leukocyte count, and decrease in the platelet count. So if the person is having anemia, that is hemoglobin concentration less than 10, and reticulocyte count is also reduced, as well as hematocrit is also reduced, and RBC count also reduced, we call that as anemia. And in leukocyte count, when it is less than 4000 or absolute neutrophil count less than 1500, it is labeled as neutropenia. Neutropenia, and that neutropenia will give rise to infections. And platelet count less than 1,50,000, it is called thrombocytopenia, and which will end up with bleeding. This is bleeding, subcutaneous bleeding. This is purpura, and this is anemia. So these are the things what will happen. So decrease in RBC, WBC, and platelet count is called pancytopenia. We can divide into congenital etiology and acquired etiology, or we can call, depending upon the site where the damage has taken place, that is medullary, extramedullary causes. So pancytopenia is a medical condition in which there is a reduction in the number of RBC, WBC, and platelet count. So it will end up with anemia, leukopenia. Because of leukopenia, you will get chances of infection, and thrombocytopenia, which will end up with bleeding tendency. The commonest causes are leukemia, leishmaniasis, SLE, PNH, that is paroxysmal, nocturnal, not but hemoglobinuria. Some of the viral infections like HIV infections, certain drugs which can produce damage to bone marrow, classical example chloramphenicol, or destruction in spleen, we call hypersplenism. These are some of the common causes. There is a big list. You can divide into inherited causes, acquired causes. Aplastic anemia, bone marrow infiltration by hematological malignancy, particularly leukemia. Non-hematological malignancy can also infiltrate the bone marrow. Storage cell disorders, osteopetrosis, myelofibrosis, which is one of the myelodysplastic syndrome, paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, myelodysplastic syndrome, that is one of the variety will be myelofibrosis, hypersplenism, B12 and folate deficiency, systemic lupus erythematosus, person who is on cytotoxic drugs or antimetabolites, radiotherapy, because these two will have effect on the bone marrow, and sometimes a severe overwhelming infection can also, and when you cannot identify, we label that as idiopathic. Some of the inherited causes, one of the common what we come across is Fanconi. You can have a disc keratosis congenital, then Schwarzman diamond syndrome, megakaryocytic thrombocytopenia, where there is an absence of megakaryocytes, diamond Blackfan syndrome. These are some of the odd syndromes, if you remember well and good. But this particular condition will be present in a very early age groups. While among the acquired groups, we divide into certain groups we call systemic failure, where there is a decreased production of blood cells in a bone marrow. So there is basically a bone marrow failure. If there is a defective hemopoietic stem cells, we call defective workers, and defective factors stimulating the hematopoiesis, means there is a defect in hematopoiesis, maybe say classical example CKD. So we call power cutoff. These are the different way it is being described. So we call hypocellular bone marrow, cellular bone marrow with primary bone marrow failure, and cellular bone marrow with systemic disorders. So these are systemic disease producing damage to the bone marrow. This is defect in a bone marrow itself, and here there is a hypocellular bone marrow, while here there is a normal or hypercellular bone marrow with primary defect in a bone marrow, and this is systemic causes producing effect on the bone marrow. So among the hypocellular bone marrow, aplastic anemia, hypoplastic myelodysplastic syndromes, lymphomas, cytotoxic agent radiotherapy, and very rare leukemia in a hypoplastic bone marrow. Bone marrow with primary bone marrow failure, like, because this will be bone marrow material is being destroyed, like leukemia, lymphomas, myelofibrosis, myelodysplastic leukemias, PNH, that is paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, multiple myeloma, etc. While systemic disease like hypersplenism, B12 and folic acid deficiency, severe sepsis, tuberculosis, Kala Azar, brucellosis, severe overwhelming infections, alcohol, SLE, Sjogren's syndrome, sarcoidosis, storage disorders like Gaucher's, etc., Niemann-Pick, etc. All this will infiltrate in the bone marrow and produces bone marrow damage and pancytopenia. We know very well, if you go through, basically all the three cells are manufactured in the marrow. So there are two possibilities. Either the bone marrow is less, then we call hypoplastic bone marrow, and this hypoplastic bone marrow can be because of primary bone marrow disorders or because of systemic disease. So this will be the common mechanism, and for stimulation of a bone marrow you require hemopoietic factors, that is erythropoietin, and when that is defective, that can also give rise to bone marrow failure. So you will have a cellular marrow with deficiency and systemic disease, you will have a cellular marrow with primary bone marrow failure, or you have got a hypocellular marrow which can end up with pancytopenia, means the quantity of a marrow has been reduced because of a irreversible damage to the bone marrow, and there can be normal marrow, normal production, but it is increased destruction because of hypersplenism. Secondary, due to pancytopenia, person will end up with anemia because of decreased hemoglobin level. Because of pancytopenia, bleeding tendency like ecchymosis, bleeding from the gums, epistaxis, etc. And because of decreased neutrophil counts, basically neutrophil counts is much more reduced, and then hence there is an increased tendency for infections which will produce fever, mouth ulcer, odd infections like candidiasis, oral thrush, etc. So that will be the most common. So person can present with a fever, cellulitis, pneumonias, sepsis, oral infections, etc. So because of low RBC, there will be decreased oxygen supply, so person will feel tired, so complaints of weakness, tiredness, person is less alert, have trouble in concentrating, loss of appetite, loss of weight, pale skin, and because of decreased oxygen supply, shortness of breath, you will have tachycardia, and person will have a reduced ability to do exercise and climbing the staircases. Because of decreased WBC count, repeated infections, and secondary to infection, fever, person will have invariably infections, particularly of urinary tract. Chest infections will be very common. Mouth ulcers are common, and we call oral secondary infection by fungal infection we call thrush, or we call candidiasis infection. Sinus infections, stuffy nose, skin infections like cellulitis, abscess, etc. And because of a low platelet, easy bruisability, easy bleeding, in female, heavy menstrual period, epistaxis, small purpuric spots to a petechial hemorrhages, bleeding from gums while brushing the teeth, etc. So these are all the different symptoms: dyspnea, temperature, headache, petechial hemorrhages, bleeding from gums, epistaxis, weakness, lethargy, easy bruising, etc. So whenever you come across a person who has got these three components due to decreased hemoglobin and anemia, pallor, weakness, fatigue, etc. Because of decreased WBC count, infections, and because of decreased platelet count, bleeding tendency. When all these three are there together, do suspect. So from history, you can suspect, have a good physical examination, and then we go for a laboratory picture. So history, general examination, systemic examination followed by investigations. In investigations, CBC with peripheral smear will be absolutely necessary. That will give you idea regarding a pancytopenia, and also in a peripheral smear you will be able to identify abnormal RBC, abnormal platelets, and abnormal WBC depending upon what is the basic etiology. To find out the etiology, you can go for a B12 and folic acid level. Very frequently, liver function test will be also abnormal. So liver function test is useful. Coagulative panel, particularly BTCT and prothrombin time and prothrombin index, we call INR, to rule out other variety of a bleeding disorders. HIV is one of the cause of a bone marrow failure, so HIV test can be done. Bone marrow biopsy and aspiration is done to find out the type of a bone marrow, whether it is hypocellular or it is abnormal bone marrow. And you can go for even cytogenetic studies. And in a selective condition, you might require a special investigation to confirm the diagnosis, depending upon what etiology you are suspecting. These are the different symptoms which are being present, and these are the conditions which will be there depending upon the duration of symptoms, family history, age, then previous treatment, drugs, alcohol abuse, pain crisis will be characteristic in a paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. Bleeding and infections will be giving you idea regarding the severity of platelet count and WBC counts. Lymphadenopathy will go more in favor of lymphomas groups and Hodgkin's lymphomas, viral infections. Huge splenomegaly will be more in favor of hypersplenism. Hepatomegaly will be more in favor of myeloproliferative disorders, etc. You can go through all these different things. For any person who is suspected to have all the three components, that is RBC, WBC and platelet, you must have a good CBC and peripheral blood smear examination. And for further identification, bone marrow biopsy must be done. In a peripheral smear, anisocytosis, poikilocytosis, important finding. WBC and RBC precursor you should look for, because if you start getting blast cells in peripheral smear, that suggests acute leukemia. Abnormal platelets, that suggests platelet disorders. Increase or decrease in granulocyte series, particularly neutrophil, also helps you to identify some of the conditions. ESR is not of much help, but still ESR is sometimes suggestive of some disorders. So always take a good history examination followed by CBC, peripheral smear, retic count, and then we go for iron studies. So if spleen is big, always go for hypersplenism, malaria, Kala-Azar. If person is having abnormality in CBC and he is having high grade fever, bleeding tendency, suspect sepsis or bleeding disorders, you must go for bone marrow aspiration and biopsy. If in a peripheral smear you see a blast cells, always try to rule out what we call as an acute leukemias. If there is a hypogranular cells, again that is in favor of what we call as abnormal cells. Unexplained splenomegaly, and if there is an M band, you are suspecting metastasis, go for bone marrow biopsy. If there is an hypersegmented neutrophils, mark anisopoikilocytosis, ask for B12 and folic acid level, and that will help to rule out what we call as a nutritional deficiency producing abnormal marrow. So these are some of the conditions which you, and in a certain persons where you don't get specific finding, you can go for HIV studies. So depending upon the clinical status, this is again another slide showing you what are the different conditions, what you come across clinically, then what you look in a RBC indices, in a peripheral blood smear, reticulocytes count, etc., and how you approach. At your leisure time, you can go through. So if a person who has got a pancytopenia, means all the three are reduced, we suspect pancytopenia. If there is an abnormal cell presence, if answer is yes, rule out malignancy, leukemia, myeloproliferative disorders, myelodysplastic syndromes, lymphomas, etc. For that, you might require a bone marrow study. If answer is no, look for what we call the absolute neutrophil count. If it is less than, not even 18, less than 1500. If answer is yes, it is more in favor of a bone marrow failure, we call aplastic anemia, or lymphomatic infiltration, or leukemic leukemia, myelodysplastic syndrome, etc. And if no, maybe because of drugs, maybe because of critical infections, collagen disorders, hypersplenisms, etc., SLE, etc. So try to rule out those conditions. These are the bone marrow finding, cellular, erythropoiesis, myeloproliferation, look for blast cells, megakaryocytes proliferation, etc. And depending upon that, these are the different conditions which will be seen. So different types of cells what are being present, and depending upon that you try to confirm the diagnosis. I am not going into detail because this is usually asked as a short note. Other investigation what are being done very frequently, that is bone X-ray, blood culture, B12 and folic acid deficiency, that is megaloblastic anemia. You can evaluate hepatitis, quite common. Kidney involvement, particularly to rule out the CKD. Then in case of an HIV and hepatitis, go for serological study. In PNH, Ham's test. In Fanconi's anemia, go for chromosomal study. And in SLE, you can go for DNA antibodies, different antibody tests. As far as management is concerned, you know very well, symptomatic, that is blood transfusion. If a person has got severe anemia, Paxil. If WBC count is markedly reduced, you can go for WBC transfusion, and if the platelet count is low, platelet transfusion, depending upon that. And simultaneously, we always say treat the basic etiology if you have got a treatable cause. When you don't get results, or if it is a resistant case, then you can go for a bone marrow transplant. Complications because of all the three components: anemia, complications of anemia, because of platelet, bleeding tendency, and secondary because of WBC, infections. If you like this video, please press button like and subscribe my video channel. And if you like this, you can share with your friends. It will be helpful to you in your exams, theory as well as oral exams, and also during your practicals and during your practice. So I thank you all for taking out time. I know that your time is valuable, and I appreciate that you have spent some of that with me. So we see you in the next lecture.